The morning sun came through the tall windows of Academy. The old stone building sat high in the Swiss Alps, surrounded by snow-covered mountains. It was a beautiful place, but Maya was not looking at the view. She was sitting in the back row of her advanced physics class, drawing small circles in her notebook. Professor was talking about electromagnetic fields. His voice was slow and steady, like a river that never changed its speed. Some students were taking notes. Others were fighting to keep their eyes open. Maya was doing neither. She was thinking about lunch. Maya was 17 years old. She had long black hair that she always kept in a simple ponytail. She wore an oversized gray hoodie that was too big for her small body. To everyone in the class, she was just another average student. Not too smart, not too dumb, not popular, not unpopular. She was the kind of person you would forget 5 minutes after meeting her. But Maya had a secret, a big one. She had not grown up like other children. While other kids went to normal schools and played normal games, Maya spent her childhood with her grandmother in a small house in the mountains of China. Her grandmother was not a normal old woman. She had worked for the government for 40 years. She was a spy, a soldier, and a survivor of things she never fully explained. From the age of 5, Maya learned things no child should know: how to fight with her hands, how to use everyday objects as weapons, how to read people's body language, how to survive in the wilderness with nothing but a knife, how to stay calm when everything around her was falling apart. "You must always be ready," her grandmother would say, her old eyes sharp as a hawk's. "The world is not as safe as people think. One day you might need these skills, and when that day comes, you will be glad I taught you." Maya always nodded and did what her grandmother asked, but deep inside she thought the old woman was being too careful. The world was peaceful now. There were no wars near them, no enemies coming to attack. Her grandmother was just stuck in the past, unable to let go of her old life. So when Maya turned 15, she asked to go to a normal school. She wanted to be a normal teenager. Her grandmother was sad, but she agreed. She gave Maya an old watch before she left. "This is not just a watch," her grandmother said. "It can scan radio frequencies. Military, government, emergency. Keep it with you always, just in case." Maya took the watch and put it on her wrist. She wore it every day, but she never used it. It was just a memory of her grandmother's worried love. Now, 2 years later, Maya sat in physics class, the watch still on her wrist, her training buried deep in her mind like a sleeping dragon. The clock on the wall showed 10:15 in the morning. Outside, the sky was clear and blue. Birds were singing in the trees around the school. Everything was peaceful. Then, without warning, every phone in the classroom died. One student looked at his phone with confusion, then another, then another. Within seconds, everyone was checking their devices. All of them showed black screens. No power, no signal, nothing. "What's happening?" a girl named Sophie asked. She pressed her phone's buttons again and again, but nothing worked. Professor stopped his lecture. He looked at the students with a frown. "Please put your phones away. This is not the time for." The lights flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. Then they went out completely. The classroom fell into half darkness. The only light came from the windows. Students started to whisper and move in their seats. Fear was spreading like cold water. Maya sat up straight. Her body became tense. Something in her chest, something that had been sleeping for years, suddenly woke up. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "When strange things happen, don't panic. Observe, think, act." She looked out the window. At first she saw nothing but the blue sky and white mountains. But then a shadow appeared in the clouds. It was small at first, like a dark bird, but it grew bigger and bigger and bigger. A ship came down from the sky. It was black, completely black, like a piece of night that had fallen into the day. It was huge, bigger than the entire school, bigger than the mountain next to them. It moved slowly, silently, blocking out the sun as it descended. Then another ship appeared, and another. 3 massive vessels now hung in the sky above Academy. They were not planes. They were not helicopters. They were not anything humans had ever built. The classroom erupted into chaos. Students screamed. Some ran to the windows to look. Others ran to the door trying to escape. Professor shouted for calm, but his voice was lost in the noise. Maya did not scream. She did not run. She stayed in her seat and watched. Her fingers moved to the old watch on her wrist. She pressed a small button on its side. The watch's face lit up with green light and numbers started scrolling across it. Radio frequencies, military channels, emergency broadcasts. Most channels were dead, but one was alive. A voice was speaking in a language Maya had never heard before. It was sharp and clicking like insects talking to each other, but underneath it there was another voice. A translation program, and it was speaking English. Target location secured. Human specimens detected. Begin collection process. Resistance expected, minimal. These creatures show no advanced defensive capabilities. Proceed with harvest. Maya's blood turned cold. She looked at her classmates. They were still panicking, still screaming, still running around like scared animals. They had no idea what was about to happen. But Maya knew. She stood up slowly. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was calm. The sleeping dragon inside her was now fully awake and its eyes were open. Her grandmother was right. The day had come. And Maya was ready. Maya watched from behind a pillar as the first aliens entered the school building. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with bodies covered in dark armor that looked like the shell of a beetle. Their heads were shaped like triangles, with large compound eyes that reflected light like broken mirrors. Instead of mouths, they had sharp mandibles that clicked together when they communicated. They walked on 2 legs, but their movements were strange and jerky, like puppets controlled by invisible strings. Though that was what they called themselves. Maya had heard the name through her watch's scanner. She had also learned other things, terrible things. These creatures traveled across space looking for resources, but they were not looking for gold or water or oil. They were looking for brains, human brains. They used living neural tissue to power their biocomputers, and they had identified Earth as a perfect source. To them, humans were not people. They were just material, just things to be collected and used. Maya pressed her back against the cold stone pillar and controlled her breathing. Fear was there, yes. She could feel it in her stomach, cold and heavy like a ball of ice, but she did not let it control her. Fear was useful. It made you alert. It made you fast, but only if you kept it as a servant, not a master. Through a crack in the wall, she watched the soldiers move through the hallway. They carried weapons that looked like long rifles made of bone and metal. When they fired, the weapons released pulses of blue energy that hit students and teachers and made them fall to the ground, unable to move. Not dead, just paralyzed. The aliens were herding everyone toward the gymnasium, like farmers collecting sheep. Maya counted the soldiers, 12 in this group. She watched their movements and noticed patterns. They always walked in pairs. They communicated with clicking sounds every 30 seconds, and their compound eyes, while good at detecting movement, seemed to struggle with shadows and corners. She also noticed something else, the joints in their armor. Where the shell pieces connected, there were small gaps. The dark material underneath looked softer, more vulnerable, a weakness. Move, 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 a soldier shouted in broken English through some kind of translator device. All humans go to large room. Now, no resistance. A boy named Tall and Athletic tried to fight back. He threw a punch at the nearest soldier. They did not even try to avoid it. The punch hit its chest armor and screamed in pain. His hand was broken. The soldier looked down at him with its mirror eyes, almost confused, like a human looking at an ant that had tried to bite them. Then it hit with the back of its weapon, and he fell unconscious to the floor. They did not see humans as threats. To them, this was not a battle, it was just collection. Maya stayed hidden as the soldiers passed. When the hallway was clear, she moved. Her steps were silent, her body low. She had learned long ago how to move without being seen or heard. Her grandmother had made her practice walking on dry leaves without making sound. Now, that training was saving her life. She made her way to the maintenance closet near the science labs. Inside, she found what she was looking for, the school's old radio system. It was meant for emergencies, but no one had used it in years. Maya turned it on and scanned through frequencies, looking for any human response. What she heard broke her heart. Cities around the world were under attack. New York, London, Tokyo, Beijing, Sydney. The ships had appeared everywhere at the same time. Military forces were trying to fight back, but their weapons were having little effect. The aliens' armor was too strong, their ships too advanced. Governments were in chaos. People were running, screaming, dying. No help was coming, not for the school, not for anyone. Maya closed her eyes for 1 second and let the weight of the situation sink in. They were alone, completely alone. If anyone was going to save the students of Academy, it would have to be them. It would have to be her. She found other students hiding in empty classrooms and storage rooms. One by one, she gathered them. Sophie, the girl from physics class. Thomas, a quiet boy who was good with computers. Emma and James, two seniors who had managed to avoid capture. About 15 students in total, all scared, all confused. "Who are you?" Sophie asked, looking at Maya like she was seeing her for the first time. "I mean, I know who you are, but how are you so calm?" Maya did not answer the question directly. There was no time for long explanations. "I know how to handle situations like this," she said simply, "and I need your help, all of you." She organized them quickly. Thomas would work on communications, trying to reach anyone outside. Emma and James, both strong and fast, would scout the hallways and report enemy positions. Sophie, who knew chemistry, would help Maya with something special. "What are we making?" Sophie asked as Maya led her to the chemistry lab. "Weapons," Maya said. Sophie's eyes went wide. "Weapons? We're students. We don't know how to fight aliens." Maya picked up a bottle of chemicals and read the label. "We don't need to fight like soldiers. We need to fight like humans. That means using our brains. Those creatures have never faced anything like us before. They don't know what we can do, and that is our biggest advantage." For the next hour, Maya worked in the chemistry lab. She mixed compounds and built devices. Simple smoke grenades using potassium nitrate. Flash powder using aluminum and iron oxide. Nothing advanced. Nothing complicated, just basic chemistry that any student could do with the right knowledge. When she was finished, she had a small collection of tools, primitive by alien standards, but effective. "Now," Maya said to her small group of survivors, "we take back our school." The others looked at her with a mixture of fear and hope. They did not fully understand who this girl was or where her confidence came from. But in a world that had just been turned upside down, they needed someone to follow. And Maya was ready to lead. They had made a terrible mistake. They had looked at humans and seen weak creatures with soft bodies and no claws. They had seen a species with slow legs and dull teeth. They had seen prey. But they did not see what those soft bodies had survived. Ice ages that froze the world, plagues that killed millions, wars that burned cities to ash, famines that lasted for years. Humans were not strong because of their bodies. They were strong because they refused to die. No matter what the universe threw at them, they found a way to survive. And then they found a way to win. They were about to learn this lesson. Maya moved through the dark maintenance tunnels beneath the school. These tunnels were old, built when the school was first constructed over 100 years ago. They connected the main building to the gym, the cafeteria, and the dormitories. They did not know they existed. Behind Maya walked her small team. Sophie with a bag of chemical weapons, Thomas with a laptop connected to the school's old network, and the twins Emma and James carrying tools from the maintenance room. "Here," Maya whispered, stopping at a metal grate in the ceiling. Through the gaps, she could see the gymnasium below. Hundreds of students and teachers lay on the floor, paralyzed by the alien weapons. Soldiers walked among them, scanning their heads with strange devices. "They're checking brain activity," Thomas whispered, his face pale in the dim light. "Picking out the ones they want." Maya felt anger rise in her chest, hot and sharp, but she pushed it down. Anger was useful, but only when controlled. How many soldiers? "I count 20, James said, +2 at each door." 24 enemies. Maya had 15 students, most of them with no fighting experience. The numbers were bad. The weapons were worse. A straight fight would end in disaster. So she would not fight straight. "Listen carefully," Maya said, gathering her team close. "They communicate through chemicals, pheromones. They leave invisible trails that others follow. When I set off the smoke grenades, it will destroy those trails. They won't be able to coordinate." "And the flash powder?" Sophie asked. "Their eyes are compound, like insects, sensitive to sudden light. The flash will blind them for at least 30 seconds. Maya pulled out a small device from her pocket. It looked like a metal spider. "I took this from a soldier I knocked out earlier. It's a scanner. If I can connect it to Thomas's laptop, we might be able to read their communications." Thomas's eyes lit up. "You want to hack the aliens?" "I want to understand them. Knowledge is the best weapon." They moved into position. Maya placed smoke grenades at 3 points around the gymnasium. Sophie set up the flash powder near the main doors. Emma and James waited in the tunnel with ropes and pipes, ready to act when the chaos started. Maya took a deep breath. This was the moment, success or failure, life or death. She lit the first smoke grenade and threw it through the grate. Purple smoke exploded across the gymnasium floor. They immediately became confused. They clicked and screeched, trying to communicate, but the chemical signals that connected them were being torn apart by the thick smoke. The second grenade went off, then the third. The aliens stumbled into each other. Some fired their weapons randomly, hitting nothing but walls and floor. Their organized formation broke apart like in the tide. "Now," Maya shouted. Sophie ignited the flash powder. Brilliant white light exploded through the room. They screamed, a horrible high-pitched sound like metal scraping against glass. They covered their compound eyes with their clawed hands, completely blind. Maya dropped from the tunnel into the gymnasium. She moved fast, faster than she had ever moved in her life. The first soldier never saw her coming. She slid between its legs and struck at the joint behind its knee with a metal pipe. The armor cracked. The soldier fell. Emma and James came next, swinging their tools at the blind aliens. They were not trained fighters, but they did not need to be. They could not see them, could not coordinate, could not fight back. Students on the floor, those who had recovered from the paralysis, started to stand. They saw what was happening. They saw 3 teenagers fighting alien soldiers, and something changed in them. Fear became anger. Helplessness became hope. One by one, they joined the fight. Within 5 minutes, the gymnasium was won. 24 soldiers lay on the ground, bound with ropes and electrical cables. No humans were seriously hurt. The impossible had happened. Maya stood in the center of the room, breathing hard. Around her, students were hugging each other, crying, laughing. They had won. They had actually won. But she knew this was just the beginning. Thomas ran up to her, his laptop in his hands. "Maya, I connected the scanner. I'm reading their communications." His face was excited but also scared. "You need to see this." Maya looked at the screen. Lines of translated alien text scrolled across it. Most of it was confused signals, soldiers asking for orders, commanders demanding reports. But one message stood out. Mothership crew reduced to minimum. 90% of forces deployed to planet's surface for collection. Ship defense priority, low. No threats expected. Maya read it again, and again. A plan began to form in her mind. Their main ship is almost empty, she said slowly. Most of their soldiers are on Earth. If someone could get to that ship, they could send a retreat signal, Thomas finished, his eyes wide. They could end the whole invasion. Maya looked up at the dark ceiling, imagining the alien vessels floating in the sky above. It was crazy, it was dangerous, it was probably impossible. She smiled. Get everyone organized, she said. We have a spaceship to take. Maya stood in the main hall, looking at what her fellow students had built in just 3 hours. Barricades made of desks and blocked every entrance. Scouts watched from every window. Communication systems connected every corner of the building. What had been a group of scared teenagers was now an organized resistance. And every person had a role. The athletes became soldiers and runners. They were fast and strong, perfect for carrying messages and fighting when needed. The computer club had hacked into the communication network and was now reading every message the aliens sent. The chemistry students were making more weapons. The theater kids were creating decoys and distractions, using their skills in costumes and acting. Even the chess club had found a purpose. They planned attack strategies, thinking 5 moves ahead of the enemy. Every human skill, no matter how small, had become a weapon. Report, Maya said to Emma, who had just returned from scouting. They know we're fighting back, Emma said, her face serious. I saw new ships landing in the valley, bigger soldiers, different armor. The elite guard, Thomas added, looking up from his laptop. I've been reading about them in the communications. They're called the Ra, only sent for difficult situations. Stronger, smarter, much more dangerous than the regular soldiers. Maya nodded slowly. She had expected this. They would not accept defeat from what they considered inferior creatures. They would send their best to crush the resistance and make an example. How long until they arrive? She asked. 1 hour, maybe less. 1 hour. Maya looked around at the students who had trusted her. Some were trying to look brave. Others could not hide their fear. They had won one battle, but this next fight would be different. The elite guard would not fall for the same tricks. She needed a new plan. Everyone listen, Maya said, her voice clear and strong. Bigger enemies are coming. They think they can scare us. They think because we're young, because we're students, we're weak. She paused and looked at each face around her. But we've already done something they thought was impossible. We fought back. We won. We proved that humans are not just prey. Sophie stepped forward. What do we do? Maya smiled. We show them what else humans can do. We improvise. The plan was complex but simple to execute. Maya divided the school into zones. The Ra would have to fight through each zone to reach the students, and each zone was a trap. Zone 1, the entrance hall. The floors had been covered with oil from the kitchen. They had heavy bodies. Their feet were not designed for slippery surfaces. Zone 2, the cafeteria. All the fire extinguishers had been modified to spray chemical mixtures that would eat away at alien armor over time. Zone 3, the main corridor. Wires stretched across the floor at ankle height. Lights that could be controlled from a central point, flashing on and off to confuse alien eyes. Zone 4, the Great Hall. This was where Maya would make her final stand. The Ra came at sunset. They were even bigger than Maya had expected, 8 feet tall with armor that looked like black iron. Their eyes glowed red, not the mirror silver of regular, and they moved differently, smoother, more controlled. These were not simple soldiers, these were warriors. The commander entered first. It was the largest of them all, with symbols carved into its chest armor. It looked at the barricade of desks and let out a sound that might have been a laugh. Then it walked forward and fell. Its feet slipped on the oiled floor. The mighty commander of the Ra crashed to the ground with a sound like thunder. Behind it, other elite soldiers slipped and struggled, their heavy bodies unable to find balance. Students hidden in the walls threw more oil. The soldiers kept falling. Dignity meant nothing now. The invaders looked like fools. By the time the Ra reached Zone 2, they were angry. Anger made them careless. They rushed into the cafeteria and were hit with sprays of chemical foam. The mixture burned slowly into their armor, weakening the joints. Warriors who had never known fear started to feel it. Zone 3 was chaos. Flashing lights, tripping wires, students appearing and disappearing like ghosts. The Ra fired their weapons in all directions but hit nothing. Finally, only the commander was left standing. It had fought through every trap. Its armor was damaged, smoking from the chemicals, but it still moved with deadly purpose. It entered the great hall. Maya was waiting. She stood alone in the center of the hall, under the massive crystal chandelier. She looked small and weak compared to the monster in front of her, a teenage girl against an alien warlord. The commander clicked its mandibles in what was probably amusement. "Little human," it said through its translator, "you have fought well, but it ends here." "You're right," Maya said calmly. "It does end here." She pressed a button on her watch. The fire suppression system activated. Water poured from the ceiling like rain. The Ra commander screamed as the water hit its damaged armor. Steam rose from its body. The metal began to rust and crack at incredible speed. Maya moved, fast. She ran toward the wall and grabbed a rope she had prepared earlier. She pulled hard and the chandelier above fell. Glass and metal crashed onto the commander, pinning it to the ground. Maya walked toward the fallen alien. It struggled but could not rise. Its red eyes looked up at her with something new. Not anger, not hatred. Fear. Maya bent down so she could look directly into those eyes. She spoke slowly, clearly, making sure the translator caught every word. "I could kill you right now. It would be easy. Your armor is broken, your soldiers are defeated, you have nothing left." She paused. "But I won't, because humans are not like you. We don't harvest. We don't destroy just because we can." She stood up. "Leave this planet. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them that a school full of children defeated their elite guard. And tell them that if they ever come back as enemies." Maya looked out the window at the dark sky, where the alien ship still floated. "We'll be ready, and next time we won't be so kind." The commander stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, it lowered its head, the universal sign of surrender. Outside, the students started to cheer. But Maya did not smile, not yet. The battle was won, but the war was not over. She still had one more thing to do. She had to reach that mothership. The crashed scout ship lay in a field behind the school. It had gone down during the battle, damaged by one of the improvised weapons. Now it sat in the snow like a wounded bird, black metal steaming in the cold air. Maya approached it carefully with Thomas, Sophie, and James beside her. They had won the battle, yes. The elite guard was defeated, but across the world the invasion continued. Cities were burning. People were being taken. Unless someone did something big, humanity would lose. "Can we fly it?" James asked, looking at the strange vessel. Thomas was already examining the hull. "The engine is damaged, but life support works, and the communication systems are still active, if we can figure out how to use them." "We can send a message to the mothership," Maya finished. "A retreat signal." They entered the ship. The inside was dark and smelled strange, like metal and something organic. The walls curved like the inside of a shell. Controls glowed with soft blue light, marked with symbols that meant nothing to human eyes. But Maya had spent the last hour studying. Using the captured scanner and Thomas's translations, she had learned the basics of language. It was not perfect, but it was enough. She sat at what looked like the main control panel. Her fingers moved carefully over the symbols. One wrong button could destroy the ship or alert the mothership to their location. Every choice mattered. "I'm connecting to their network," Maya said. "There." The screen in front of her flickered and new symbols appeared. "I'm in." Sophie looked over her shoulder. What now? Just send the retreat signal. Maya paused. She could do that. One button and the invasion would end. They would leave. Earth would be saved. It was the simple choice, the safe choice. But Maya was thinking about something bigger. These aliens came here because they thought we were weak, she said slowly. If we just make them retreat, they might come back later with bigger armies, better weapons. She turned to look at her friends. We need to make sure they never think about coming back, and maybe we need to talk to whoever else is out there. What do you mean? Thomas asked. Maya turned back to the control panel. I'm not just going to send a retreat signal. I'm going to send a message to everyone. Her fingers moved across the controls. She connected to every frequency. Then she went further. She found channels that even the monitored but did not control, frequencies used by other species across the galaxy. Anyone listening would hear what she was about to say. Ready? She asked. Thomas nodded. Sophie took her hand and squeezed. James gave a thumbs up. Maya pressed the broadcast button and began to speak. This message is for and for anyone else in the universe who can hear me. Her voice went out into space, riding on waves of energy that moved at the speed of light. My name is Maya. I am 17 years old. I am a human from the planet Earth. Today your army attacked my world. You came to harvest us. You thought we were weak. You thought we would be easy to take. She paused, letting the words sink in. You were wrong. Behind her, the screens showed images that Thomas had connected to the broadcast. Images of the battle at the school. Images of students fighting back. Images of the elite guard falling. Images of the commander on the ground, defeated by a teenage girl. Humans are not what you think we are. Yes, our bodies are soft. Yes, we have no claws or armor or natural weapons, but we have something more powerful. We have minds that never stop thinking, hearts that never stop hoping, and spirits that never stop fighting. Maya thought about her grandmother, about all the things the old woman had taught her, about all the generations of humans who had survived and fought and built a world from nothing. Our species has walked through ice ages and fire. We have faced plagues that killed half our population and came back stronger. We have fought terrible wars against ourselves and still found ways to build peace. Every time the universe tried to destroy us, we adapted. We learned. We survived. The broadcast continued, reaching farther into the cosmos with every passing second. Today, a school full of children defeated your elite warriors. Think about that. Our children beat your best soldiers, and we did it with chemistry sets, kitchen oil, and courage. Maya leaned closer to the microphone. So here is my message to thee and to everyone else listening. We, the humans of Earth, do not want war. We would rather be friends. We would rather share our music, our stories, our dreams. We have so much we could offer the galaxy. Art, science, love, laughter. We are not just resources. We are people, and we are ready to meet other people among the stars. She took a deep breath. But if you come to our world as conquerors, if you try to hurt us or harvest us or treat us as things to be used, you will learn what we become when we are threatened. You will learn that humans do not give up. We do not surrender. We fight until the last breath, and then we fight some more. Maya looked out the small window of the ship. The sun was rising over the mountains. A new day was beginning. Remember what happened here. Remember that a girl from a small school in the mountains helped defeat an army from space. And know that there are billions more like me. Each one of us carries the spirit of every ancestor who ever refused to die. She smiled, the first real smile she had allowed herself since the invasion began. Come in peace and we will welcome you. Come in war and we will teach you why that was a mistake. The choice is yours. Maya pressed the button to end the broadcast. The ship fell silent. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Thomas looked at his laptop screen. Maya, the fleet. They're leaving, all of them. Every ship on Earth is pulling back. Sophie hugged her. James cheered. Through the window, they watched the massive black vessels rise into the sky and disappear into the clouds. Maya stepped out of the crashed ship and stood in the snow. The morning sun felt warm on her face. Students were streaming out of the school, looking up at the sky, crying and laughing and holding each other. They had won not just the school, the whole planet. Maya walked away from the crowd. She found a quiet spot near the edge of the forest and took out her old phone. It was working again. With shaking fingers, she called the only number that mattered. Her grandmother answered on the second ring. "Maya, are you safe? I've been trying to reach you for hours. The news is saying that aliens attacked and then retreated, and there was a message from a human girl and—" "Grandmother," Maya's voice cracked. All the strength she had shown, all the calm and control finally broke. Tears ran down her face. "Grandmother, you were right about everything. The training, the preparation, just in case." There was a long pause. When her grandmother spoke again, her voice was soft and full of love. "I know, my little dragon, I heard your message. The whole world heard it." The old woman laughed, a sound like bells. "I always knew you would do great things, but this was beyond even my imagination." Maya looked up at the clear blue sky, now empty of alien ships. Somewhere out there, her message was still traveling, reaching new stars, new civilizations, new possibilities. "What happens now?" she asked. Her grandmother's answer was simple. "Now, my dear, humanity truly begins." Maya smiled, wiped her tears, and walked back to her friends. There was still much to do, a world to rebuild, a future to create, and somewhere among the stars others were listening. The girl who had been invisible was now the voice of an entire planet. And she was ready for whatever came next.